morning and welcome to Love Every Moment, coming to you today from Trenton, Maine. Today's verse is 1 John 3:13. Do not be surprised, brethren, if the world hates you. Well, I'm going to start off by saying I am surprised. As a human, in human thoughts, I'm surprised that the world would hate a true Christian. Let's assume that I'm a true Christian. I know that's a stretch. But let's assume that I am loving everybody, lifting up even my enemies, blessing those who persecute me, considering their needs above mine, and treating them with kindness and gentleness and patience and peace and understanding. Who would hate a person that treats them so well? It doesn't seem to make any logical sense. But let's look at a couple of things. First of all, the context. Last week's verse, and I have the link up here, was about Cain and Abel. And we saw that Cain was of the evil one. He was of the devil just by default because he didn't surrender everything to God in love. By contrast, Abel gave what God wanted. Cain gave what Cain wanted to give, but Abel gave what God wanted, and Abel's sacrifice was more acceptable. I'm going to suggest that it's because Abel loved God and Cain did not. And if Abel loved God, it makes sense that Abel probably loved his brother Cain, and yet Cain murdered Abel. Why? Again, because by default, he was the devil's child, and the devil's number one virtue is hatred. Now, let's look at a couple of passages in Luke that also bring this together. The first one is Luke 21, the main verse being verse 17, and you will be hated by all because of my name. But let's put that into context. The context starts in verse 10. Verse 10 and 11 talk about some of the signs of the end times. And then verse 12 says, but before all these things, they will lay their hands on you and will persecute you, delivering you to the synagogues and prisons, bringing you before kings and governors for my name's sake. Some real persecution predicted. But I love verse 13. It says, it will lead to an opportunity for your testimony. And remember, a testimony doesn't necessarily have to be oral. It can also just be you're living the life of love. Continuing, verse 14. So make up your minds not to prepare beforehand to defend yourselves. A lot of Christians wanted to defend themselves or defend God, which is laughable. We don't need to defend God. We need him to defend us, and he will. It says, for I will give you utterance and wisdom, which none of your opponents will be able to resist or refute. That's also very good news. But now the tough verse. But you will be betrayed by parents and brothers and relatives and friends, and they will put some of you to death. And you will be hated by all because of my name. Wow. But then it says right after that, yet not a hair of your head will perish. Wait a minute, it just got through saying some of you will be put to death. How could this be, and not a hair of your head will perish? Well, that part is about our eternal souls. Our eternal souls are guaranteed. We will not have eternal perishment. Perish the thought. So let's now look at one other verse in Luke, part of the Sermon on the Mount, Luke 6:22. Blessed are you when men hate you and ostracize you and insult you and scorn your name as evil for the sake of the Son of Man. It says, blessed are you when all these terrible things happen, when people really hate you and all. So how can we be happy and be blessed by that? Let me see if I can put it together. Remember that Jesus loved the entire world. He loved his enemies. He loved them so much that he died for them. And yet, so many in the world hate Jesus. Now, if we are loving the way Jesus is, I guess because of that, we should expect to be hated. That means we're becoming more like him. And that's the good news. So let's choose to love every moment, because then we're going to love every moment. I'm your average Wretch, and I hope you have a great week.